Okay, today we are going to be delidding our 6700K. It's running 10 degrees hot on one core, and to solve that we're going to delid it and replace it with some of this awesome stuff here. It's from Cool Laboratories, it's called Liquid Ultra, and it will do a great job of lowering our temperatures. So, there is always a little hole on one of the bottom corners of the chip. It's never really definite, but normally the bottom right, normally the bottom right side is a good start. But I've already had a look at this chip, and the bottom left is quite open. This is what I'm using. I'm using a razor blade. I've put a bit of electrical tape around it. This stops the razor blade from slipping into the chip too much, and it also gives me something to hold on to as well, you see. One thing to note when you're delidding your chip, you don't just want to push it in there and go flat. Too many people have ruined their chips, sliced their chips open by doing this. What you want to do is you want to take it easy. You want to just get it in there, and you want to slightly push the blade back towards the chip, not too much because you're going to damage the PCB. What this is going to do is going to make sure you're going to miss the board. The surface that you're going to be scraping across is the heat spreader and not the chip. Okay, so let's have a go. I've done my devils, my 4790K, and that went okay. Hopefully we don't kill this chip. You know, there's always a chance that it can go wrong, so you got to be prepared to potentially lose a chip when you do this. But hey, here goes. Hopefully I won't swear too much, so if you hear loads of beeps in the edit, then you know exactly what's happened. Okay, let's go. It looks like I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on this, and I am. But remember, I'm pushing this blade up towards the top. This stops me slicing through anything. Just want to take it easy. Just slowly prise off the edge, you see. See it slowly going in there, how that razor blade's stuck in there now. You can see. Here we go. Gonna keep pushing. You just want to work each corner first. See how that's just sliding in there, nice and easy. Remember, keep that pressure going towards the heat spreader. Super important, okay? So we're just going to work each corner. I've done that corner, I'm going to pull it out there. Turn the chip over, start on the other side. This gives us a nice clean break down one side. It should just slide in there, press it towards the top. Give it a little wiggle and a bit of pressure, and you see it's just sliding in there. Typical Intel heat spreader coming off with little effort. Would have been nice with a new series of chips to see them sold at this on, but hey, we can't win them all. This one's being a bit hard, so I'm going to go back to these bottom two. See, that just slides in there now. If you take a look at the picture just underneath this vid, you'll see that there's no transistors for you to hit. So as long as you don't push this in too far, you're not going to have any issues at all. Just be careful, remember, I'm going to say it again, push the internal heat spreader towards the top of the chip. This is so important. If you cut through the PCB, then there's a high chance that you're going to break your chip. Don't use too much force, because that's going to equal you slipping, breaking the core, and that's again bad. Considering that these chips have gone from £298, including VAT here in the UK, to places now selling them for £375. Yeah, you want to be careful. Supply and demand is an evil thing, I suppose. I'm just going through each corner. See, it's top right one. If you look at the surface, this top right corner, for me, on all the chips I've always done, has always been hard. I find it's easier to make sure that's the last one. So if we look at the chip, I've loosened this bottom corner, this one, and this one. What I'm now going to start doing is I'm going to start working from this edge to clear all this away, and the same here, and the same here, and the same here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the video, I'm going to get this done, and I'll come back to you when I've got this off. Okay, so I'm back. I had a thought that maybe you guys would want to see how I'm actually getting this off instead of just doing some corners and then coming back. It's going to take me a bit more, but yeah. Okay, so I'm still at a point where I've done the 3 corners, as you can see, and I've just been working the blade at a slight angle, ever so slightly, pushing up towards the top, working my way down, and so far I'm here. So I'm going to carry on working this side now, very slowly, and I'm just going to work my way down to this edge that's already been done. In fact, maybe it might be easier for me to go from this side. I'm not thinking. You must apologise, this is my first video. I've never made a video before, but I thought that maybe you guys would want to delid your chips, considering that we're all overclockers. We all want a bit more speed out of our computers, and you don't go out and spend a lot of money on a water cooling loop to have one core 10 degrees higher. I think you'll all agree. Oh, there we go. Now you see, this is where the tape has come into play. The silicone has given way. I'm through this side on the internal heat spreader, but it's stopped it from going any further in, which has just basically saved my core, which is great. But now we have this side nice and loose. You see, just fit that in there nice, work my way the whole side down very easily. Very easily. Now, one thing to note, and I don't really have a chip for comparison, but again I'm going to link a thread from OCM below, and you'll see that the difference in the thickness of the chip from Haswell to now is very, very different. It's much thinner now, which means you don't want to be pushing your chip in a vise, because you're just going to crack the PCB and just throw money down the drain. So really that's just a no-go. So yeah, if you haven't got the razor blade and you really don't want to risk it, then I wouldn't do it. I would personally not, but hey, we all want a bit more speed. We want everything to run cooler. We want our computers quiet. See, I'm just working it in there. Just, you don't want to go in flat. If you go in flat, then you're just going to risk the PCB. See how it just slides through, all the way through there, see? Now, I'm just going to push through to this side. Give it a wiggle. See, it's just sliding through. We've got really good angle against the PCB. Against the PCB, wow, that would be bad. Against the internal heat spreader. I've got 3 sides done so far. Just trying to get through the top right corner that was a pain before. You see, it just doesn't want to come off. It's just going to take a few wiggles. Just take your time, don't rush it. Don't apply some pressure, but not too much. And remember, aim it towards the PCB. I've done it again. I'm so dumb, aren't I? Wow. First video, trying to delid a £300 chip. Easy to make mistakes, I suppose. Aim it towards the heat spreader. Make a note. I'm not going to say it again. Or maybe I will. We'll see. Yeah, this side's being a right pain in the backside. So I'm going to go into this corner and just try and prise it out a bit. Again, I'm pushing up towards the internal heat spreader. Not sure if you could hear that, but I can hear the sound of silicone unbonding from the surface of the chip. Just going to slide it through. We've now done this bottom side, this top side, this left side, and the top side. We've just got this one to go, and then the internal heat spreader should just pop right off. There we go. Feel it? Yep. Come back down to this corner. Sorry, I keep going out of focus. I have had to use a makeshift tripod that is my camera is currently attached to an old hard drive with electrical tape, so I can get this angle on this chip. Unfortunately, we don't have all the equipment that we'd like, but over time I'm sure that we can sort that out. This last side's just being a little bit of a pain. Just keep working it from both sides. I can feel that heatsink, the internal heat spreader, just loosening up all across this side as I'm working my way down this last side. Oh, that could have ended badly. Again, I was pushing towards the top of the the processor, the metal part. So if things like that do happen and you do slip, then you're not gonna slip and go through your chip. Instead, it's gonna slip across the top, which is exactly why I do that, and also so I'm not cussing through any vital connections in the processor. Oh, there we go, and it's off it come. We've got a really clean delid. If you see that, we've got no marks on the CPU at all. That's really good. All we need to do now is remove the silicone from both the chip and the internal heat spreader, because I'm actually going to reuse this, and I'm going to just secure this back on top when I put it back in our system. One thing I will say, I don't have a comparison here because my Devils is actually in my work machine, but this is considerably lighter than what Devils was. It's also much thinner. It feels like it could just snap at a moment's notice, really. There's much more transistors on the bottom, which obviously. Anyway, right. I now need a credit card, which I am going to go and find right now. Okay, so the point of the credit card is so that you can remove the silicone from the top of the processor. Just keep it flat, scrape it, and it just comes right off. Obviously, if you've got some artsy clean, this stuff's amazing. If you've got some of this stuff, I will link it below. This will take most of it off once you've got the bulk of it off, and it will leave a nice clean surface. It's amazing stuff. You should definitely check it out. Anyway. Oh, wrong one. Picking up the razor blade. Want to move that away. Coming back. Just scrape along the edges. Take all that silicone off. Leave yourself a nice flat surface, you see. You can do this for the whole lot. Now, EK water blocks do a precise mount, which allows you to go direct die. So you don't have to reuse the internal heat spreader. I do believe Overclockers UK sells it. I'm not sure about the US. But again, I will link it from the EK Water Blocks website below, and you can go and check it out. You see, we're nearly there. Just keep scraping. Bits of advertising for Sainsbury's here. We're using an Nexa card. Most of you in America will not know what that is. Okay, so we have the bulk of the silicone off here. The There's still a few little bits, but they're not going to impact on a connection between the CPU core and the internal heat spreader. But just for satisfaction's sake, let's just get it all off. Okay. Now, Devil's Canyon, I had a bit more to hold on to, and if I'm honest, I was a bit more, rough with guessing it off. But seeing as that this silicone they've used actually is a lot harder. It's a lot harder to come off than what the other one was. On Devil's, it was very elastic. This stuff's very dry, and there's not as much on there. You can definitely see where they've applied more to the chip though, and it would line up with the fact that one core was 10 degrees hotter than the other. I mean, if you look down here, there's barely any at all. But then if you look up here, it's so thick that you can see why these chips are suffering from such a temperature change in cores. It's important, of course, to be careful. Don't go too rough. Just slowly work it off. Because once this goes back in the system, the internal heat spreader is going to go back on top with some liquid ultra between. And we should see some really nice drops in temperatures. Our Devil's Canyon 4790K, when we first got that, we couldn't overclock it past 4.8 gigahertz. Things were just getting too hot even under a really good loop, so we delidded it, and now we can post that machine at 5.2, which is quite incredible really for such a hot chip. Okay, this is really proving hard to get off, so I'm going to imagine this is going to take some time. I'll come back to you when I've got this all cleaned up. Okay, so I'm back. I have cleaned the internal heat spreader. I have removed as much of the silicone from the chip as you can see. I have used the amazing ArctiClean number 1 first, just melts that stuff away. Number 2 gets rid of the residue and any contaminants that are left over. The kit from Cool Laboratories comes with like a little wire pad. You need to run over this, go around your edges first, around the edges, and then go flat one way, then the other way, and then make crisscrosses. This is going to maximise the contact between the core and the internal heat spreader. I'm not going to put this on yet. I don't have any silicone to reattach the internal heat spreader right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to put this back in my system and do it like that instead, basically. However, what I will show you is how to apply this stuff now. It's not too hard. It's very crazy stuff. You don't need a lot. I wouldn't even try and plunger it on there. The idea is that you want a very, 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 very thin layer. The idea is you just want to fill the little grooves, any little grooves that may be there or on here. You're just making a consistent contact between the processor and the internal heat spreader. Yeah, so let's get this over and done with. I personally just stick the brush in the end of the thing. You see it comes off. In fact, no, that didn't work. So I'm just going to press this up just a little bit, bring some to the surface. Sorry about this. being a bit of a pain. There we go. So I just pushed it up a little bit. As you can see, there is a little ball on the end now of liquid metal. It's almost like a paste now. The Liquid Ultra is much better, a bit more pasty, and a lot easier to apply than the other version that they do. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. It's been so long since I've used it. Again, you just want to apply this on very thinly, just a thin layer. You've taken all that silicone off, so there's already going to be quite a close contact between the internal heat spreader and the CPU core. Just try and evenly spread it out. Doesn't matter at the moment. Just get a nice even coating. The most important thing is not to get this stuff on any other components. For instance, if you was doing this on a chip that had transistors or something on the top, you're going to short things out. This stuff is electrically conductive, so be careful. You may have got the top of your chip off perfectly fine, but that's no good if everything shorts out after, is it? Okay, so I'm just spreading this across, getting a nice even. It's a bit thicker up one side than the other, so I'm going to turn the chip over, work it back down. The way I'm holding the chip as well, just making sure I'm not touching the bottom. And there we have it. Super thin layer. Literally nothing at all, as you can see. This will now go into the motherboard. Before the socket is closed, I will place the internal heat spreader like this back on top. I will put the socket down, put my finger on the top of the socket whilst holding it down. I don't want to press it too hard, but I don't want it moving. You'll see from where you cleaned up before on the silicone, you'll have your marks, so you know where your internal heat spreader is supposed to sit. You see it sits out a bit more here. These bits line up. You know where it's got to go. You want to put your internal heat spreader straight back on those lines. Now if you've got some silicone, by all means silicone it back up. It's going to make it a lot easier if you ever swap motherboards, or like us and you're going to be bench testing a lot. However, we don't, but we want to be delivering some decent results with our reviews, and to do that we need to make sure that all our cores are within reasonable temperature of each other, because otherwise you're going to have a core at 83 degrees whilst the rest of the chip's at 69. It's not going to look good on the product. So let's see. I will report back. Okay, so I'm back. I'm going to put the chip in. I know I said I wouldn't record this bit, but hey, thought I'd better do it, make it a complete video than anyone who is thinking about doing it in the future. Remove the top of your CPU socket protector. This bit is super important that you take your time, make sure that everything's lined up. Start by putting the CPU in the socket first. You take your internal heat spreader. Remember, you've cleaned it, you've used the rubbing pad on it. In fact, this is not the best of angles, if I'm honest. It's actually quite hard. I'm going to move this round, I think. Let's see how we do. There we go. It's not perfect. Just got to hope this doesn't end up pushing back into the computer. Remember, makeshifted. go. See, nice and easy. Just dropped it back on there, don't move it around too much. You can clearly feel that the suction between the core and the top, it's a very good sign, it means you've got good connection. Now when you put it down you want to be careful, just because remember it's not held down. Now you just gently press in the middle, put your thumb on it, gently press, and as you push the socket down keep it there, and in it goes. And there we have it. We've just delidded our chip, we've cleaned it up, we've removed the old thermal paste and we've replaced it with liquid ultra. It's now back in our system. We're now going to go off and start testing some coolers, and yeah, guys, have a good day.